Good morning!
Good morning, guys!
Woo-hoo!
So excited to be here. Episode
number 2!
Yeah!
Woo! I'm so excited. I hope that you guys enjoyed the first episode. If you have not listened to the first episode, go back and listen to it. Get to know a little bit about who we are, the Padillas.
Yes.
This is Coffee and Convos with the
Padillas.
And we almost got into an argument last week on how to pronounce it. I was saying Padilla. I'm so used to saying Padilla, and she's like, no, it's Padilla. And so I got it right this time. I said Padilla.
Yes, you did. I'm proud of you, babe.
Yeah, I want to make sure I keep my wife happy.
Yeah.
So we're doing Coffee and Convos with the Padillas. And so we're going to be sipping on coffee. And so, babe, what are you drinking? Let the audience know what you're drinking.
So I am drinking Bustelo coffee with coconut creme, chocolate and caramel syrup, and whipped cream on top. And it's iced.
Yes. Sierra made it for us. It tastes really good. It's really good. And she even put little straws.
Yes, she did.
You gotta take a picture so
She's
we can show people.
becoming creative.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And I'm not really an iced coffee person. I like my coffee hot. And I like to put like cracker.
I like my coffee cold.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed that. But I don't know, I just like to put like my crackers and like dip it into my coffee.
Yeah, that's that old school Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
thing.
or bread, with butter and like dip it into the.
That's a typical Puerto Rican breakfast every day.
Yeah.
Like an old lady or old man.
Yeah. Well, I
coffee
started
with bread or crackers.
I grew up with coffee. Like as a kid, my grandma Blanca, she from my dad's side, she was. I mean, that's what I would have. It would be my crackers with butters, and it would be in that big aluminum container.
Yeah, the green one.
The green one, yeah, the big round one, and it would be in there, the big crackers.
I remember that.
And she would just put butter, and we would just, and that would be my breakfast.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's what I was raised on.
And then when the crackers were gone, they would put rice in it.
Yeah,
rice
that'd be the rice storage.
Typical Puerto Ricans.
That's so funny.
That's what we do.
Yeah. But listen, I'm excited to be here today. We've been talking about a few things, and for those that are listening, a lot of our podcasts are unscripted. We just kind of see what's on our heart, and we just talk about it, and so kind of just flows. But before we go into that, I just want to remind you that we're on every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. and then also you can replay it at another time. But we just encourage you to share this with other people. Let other people know that we are on, and that we're keeping it real, raw, relevant. Blessing people, just sharing our stories, our struggles, our opinions, and just kind of letting it out there. And then also, if you want to let us know what you're drinking, we would love to hear the drinks that you had, the coffee that you like. The recipes that you want to share with us, and they can email it to
coffee@myelevatedlife.org.
Yeah. So share your recipes with us. Let us know what you like to drink. What's your favorite coffee shop? And then we were talking about this, babe, that maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll actually be recording in cafes.
Yes.
Coffee shops.
Yes. I'm excited about that. That's like gonna be like my favorite part of this podcast.
Yeah, it's going to coffee shops.
Yes, going to coffee shops, trying different coffees, and it's crazy because I've never been like a real big lover of coffee, but I'm starting to kind of like it. Like in the mornings, I find myself being like, okay, I need some coffee.
Yeah,
and that wasn't me always. Like I wasn't a big fan of coffee, but I'm starting to like it now.
Well, with this podcast, you're gonna have to, because it's called Coffee and Convos, so you're gonna have to drink it.
Hey, I like it now. So I'm good.
Awesome. And then also, if you're listening and you want to be a sponsor, maybe you want to support what we're doing, and maybe you want to treat us for coffee, or you just want to partner with us in some way, you can email us as well to coffee@myelevatedlife.org. Maybe you have a product or service that you want us to announce to our listeners. We would love to share it and promote you and so forth. And so just let us know. We would love to see this thing expand and grow and reach as many people as we can, and bring motivation and encouragement to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So today's episode, babe, and this is something that we were just kind of been just around the house is kind of talking about is kind of like the me versus me type of thing.
Yes.
And we'll explain that a little bit more. And then I was even thinking about like the conflict of faith. So,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we can just kind of tie that all in together. But I mean, in your life, you personally, and like we've talked about this a little bit, but have you noticed that it's easier to encourage other people and motivate people, but in that same area in your personal life, it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to like really believe God for yourself.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense. I feel like there's been times in my life, and this happens quite often where, I can see, as pastors, of course, and as Christians, we are we are to discern and be sensitive to the voice of God, right? And there's times where I look at somebody or I see certain people and I see such a potential in them, right? And the Lord begins to speak to me concerning their life, right?
Yeah.
Concerning what their plans are for the future, or even just the potential that they carry, the calling, the purpose over their life. And sometimes God will speak to us and show us their situation or what they're going through. And so I've been in many situations where I've given someone advice and I've said, hey, like, I believe God for you. Like, He has a miracle in store for you.
Yeah.
Look at the potential that God has placed on the inside of you. Look at what you carry. It's so easy for me to be able to see it in everyone else, right? And I believe the reason for that is because we don't know their history. Right? We don't know what they've had to go through to face the insecurities that they face. They've gone through certain traumas and certain things in their lives that have gotten them to a place of disbelief. Of disbelief has gotten them to a place of shame and of guilt, and so they have a hard time seeing themselves, right? How God sees them, or how God has revealed it to me. So as I'm encouraging this person, it's easy for me to encourage them. It's easy for me to say, get up out of that thing you're in. God has a purpose. God has a plan, because God has revealed it to me concerning them. But it's hard for them to understand it or even accept it because of what they've gone through. Right? And the things that they have done. And so I have been in that place a lot of times, and I think it's because I don't know, a lot of what they have had to face to get to that place of insecurity. But then I look at myself and I'm like, when my spiritual mother, or my mentors or my friends are pouring into me, it's hard for me to believe for my own self. And I put myself in those people's shoes that, that they're looking at their life like nobody knows what I've been going through. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why, we can give someone else encouragement and advice and pray for them and believe God for them, but we can't necessarily fully believe God for ourselves.
Like, it's easy to tell people, hey, don't quit, hey, start that business, hey, go do that ministry, but then when it comes to ourselves, it's like, God is telling us to do it, but kind of like you said, we don't believe in ourselves the way we believe in other people, or like we have faith for other people to do it, but we don't have the faith for ourselves to do it. Does that make sense? And so many times, and we have to wonder why is that? And maybe the listeners can kind of relate to that. Hey, sticking to that marriage, or like I said, start that business, or do this or do that, and then they're stuck themselves. And it's such a battle that we have, and that's why I said the me versus me. Because it's like we believe, and even this, to the point where we can give advice to other people, and we're like, man, like, I should take that advice.
Have you?
I
have found myself in that situation.
That's some good advice. Like, man, I need to take that for myself. Like, you're encouraging other people, you're saying all this stuff, and then it's like, man, like, I'm not even where I'm supposed to be. So, and I think it's that insecurity. I think that it's kind of like you said, we don't know their past, we don't know their history, and the things that with us, we know ourselves better than anybody else. So we know how many times we've quit, we know how many times we've failed, we know our flaws, our disabilities, the areas that we're incapable, and so we put all that and we try and we limit God.
Yes, we do.
But our biggest enemy is not the people around us. The biggest enemy is ourselves.
It's ourselves, yes.
Into reaching what God has called us to do.
I agree.
So what else do you think? I mean, what do you?
I think that a lot of times also, I think we need to realize and look at the fact that the same grace, the same mercy, the same favor that's available for others is also available for us.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the times that we want to walk in what God has spoken over us, or a lot of the times that we want to believe what God has spoken over us, I think it's very hard also because of shame and guilt.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, I've done this and I've been this and I have made promises to God and I've made pacts with God and I have said from here on out, if you do this for me, I'm going to serve you. If you do that for me, I'm going to serve you the rest of my days, right?
Yeah.
And so you've gotten to a place where you find yourself not living up to that promise.
Yeah.
And because you made that promise to God, now you feel like I made that promise, I broke it, I can't go back to God now. God can't accept me. God won't, he won't use me now. He won't forgive me now. He won't have that same grace and that mercy, that he's had on other people because I've been in a cycle. I've been doing this over and over again. And it's like God will deliver me. And then here I go, a week or two later, back to the same thing. But I think it's very important for us to understand that same grace, that same mercy, that same favor, that same, love that is extended to others is also extended to us.
Yeah.
And I think we have to put ourselves in a place of being receptive to that, right? Not necessarily looking at it like, man, I'm taking advantage of God, even though a lot of times we do. We take advantage of his grace and his mercy and everything else. But the Bible does clearly state that his grace and his mercy endures forever.
Yeah.
It never ends. So we have to be in that place where we can receive that love, where we can receive that mercy, that grace, to then be able to believe that we are still called, that the promise of God over us is still intact, that it hasn't gone anywhere, that God's hand has not removed itself from us just because we did something wrong or we sinned or we went back to, you know what I mean? Like it's just getting to that place of number one, repentance, and then number two, accepting God's grace and forgiveness, and then number three, really walking in it.
Yeah.
Right. And just forgiving yourself and seeing yourself as God sees you, so that you're able to walk in whatever it is that God has spoken over your life. And
I totally agree with that. And I think that, once again, our biggest enemy is ourselves, and it's because of how we see ourselves. We haven't received that forgiveness. We don't see ourselves as forgiven. We don't see ourselves as loved. We don't see ourselves as capable. But God has called us to be that, and so we really have to remove those distorted images of ourselves that we have, and that negativity. Once again, yes, we may have failed. Yes, we may have had issues. Yes, we may not have all the things that other people may have, and that's where comparison and stuff comes. Like, oh, they're better than me and stuff like that. But we have to remember who we are in Christ and who we belong to in Christ, and know that if God is for us, then who can be against us? And so we have to remember that. And once again, that's why we're battling every day. Once again, to move forward, because once again, we have that negative self-image or that distorted image of ourselves. That's why I said it's me versus me. It's not even that people are talking and whispering and not believing in us. Many times, once again, the greatest enemy that we have is inside of us, the inner me. The enemy, the greatest enemy is the inner me.
Yeah,
right.
That's good.
So we're stuck and we're stagnant. Once again, not because of what mommy and daddy did or because of lack of education. Many times it's because of us.
Yes.
Because of how we see ourselves.
Yes.
We don't see ourselves as children of God. We don't see ourselves as capable of doing certain things.
Yes.
And so if we want to see changes And if we want to accomplish what God has called us to do, then we have to see ourselves as chosen, as separated, as filled with God's presence, as we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us.
Yes, and I love how you said that, babe. When you said we have to remove that distorted image of self, right? We have this distorted image of self, and as you were talking, I looked up this word distorted, and look what it means. It means not truly or completely representing the facts or reality.
That's good.
And then I love how it says misrepresented, false, twisted, deformed, and mentally or morally twisted as with an aberration or bias.
Wow.
So I love that how it says misrepresented or false. Because this is what the enemy does. He will distort our minds about our own selves by causing us to fall into these sins and into these lifestyles and into these cycles to then make us believe that the purpose of God and the will of God and the destiny of God over our lives is not going to come to pass. Right? Because we are now distorted. We have this distorted view of ourselves. It's false. It's misrepresented. It is. Right? And it's just because the enemy has come in. And I think that's another thing that we need to work on is silencing the voices in our head. You know, that's telling us you can't do it. You're not capable. You know, you've let God down so many times. You know, you're not good enough. You're not educated. You don't even know how to speak. You don't even know, the Bible. You don't even know how to preach. You don't even know. Right. Like, look where you came from. Look at your past. Like, people know dirt about you. You know, like
your family.
What positive thing can people say about you? And so you're listening to all of these lies, and you're allowing the enemy to distort your mind about yourself. And not only about yourself, but about who God says you are, about your identity in Christ. And so I think that's another thing that we need to work on is silencing those voices that continue to come and affect us and say things to us that misrepresent our identity and who we truly are in Christ.
You know, I think it was last week I was preaching about Moses in the church and how he kept on giving excuses. God called him to do something, right? But then he remembers what he did when he killed the Egyptian and he hit him, right? And so, he had this image of himself like, hey, I can't even trust myself. God, I got this problem. God, I can't talk right. God, it was just excuse after excuse. And God is saying, hey, I've chosen you. Moses, I know what you've done. Moses, I know who you are. I know your disabilities. I know what you did wrong. I know you're insecure. I know everything that's going on in your life. But even with that, I've still chosen you. And so sometimes, we're like Moses and we have excuse after excuse. We think about what we did in the past, right? We think about how we're not good enough. We think about how we can't speak. And once again, and God is saying, I know all those things, but I still want to use you anyways. I still have a plan for your life. I still have a purpose for your life, but you have to trust me. But we're like Moses. We continually have an excuse of why we can't. And that's why I said the me versus me is the biggest thing, once again, because it's not even our surroundings. It's not even the people around us. It's me. It's I'm the one that's stopping myself from doing what God has called me to do. It's not that God hasn't called me. It's not that about abilities. It's about that I don't believe in myself because of all the insecurities in my life, because I have failed in the past, because I tripped, because I wasn't good on my word, or whatever the case may be. And so look at Samson. I mean, we can go throughout the Bible. We can say that Delilah killed Samson, right? We can say the Philistines, but it was Samson that killed Samson. That's who it was, right? Because look, he could destroy the lions, and he could destroy all these. He had the strength for all these people.
That's good,
but yet he didn't have the self-control.
Come on.
Right? Of himself. Right? He didn't know how to control those things inside of him. But he destroyed himself. It wasn't Delilah. And so it's the same thing with us. We are our greatest enemy. And so we have to figure out how we're going to conquer ourselves, right? What people can't do to us, we do to ourselves.
That's good.
What people can't do to us,
That's good.
we do to ourselves. You know, what we're talking about haters and haters, it's not even about haters. Well, the person that, the greatest hater
Yourself.
is us.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
I'm my greatest hater.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, I mean, so what do you think? I mean...
I love how you were talking about excuses. And you know, as I love how we can have this type of conversation, because as you're talking, I'm able to think, and like the Holy Spirit just brings little nuggets right to our mind. But I love how you said the excuses, that word excuses, because one of the things I've come to understand is that excuses are lack of passion.
Yeah.
And excuses, what they do is they magnify our insecurities. I don't know if you if you realize, like, look at Moses. You know, his excuse was, God, I can't speak. God, I'm too young. God, I'm too this. God, I'm too that. Like, it was because of insecurities. You know, excuses, they magnify our insecurities.
So
excuses are tied, right? Are sometimes tied to a failure of something we did in the past. Or is tied to a trauma of something that happened to us in the past. So sometimes when God is calling us to something, you know, we use the excuse based off of what we went through before. So, you know, with Moses, like he always said it. He's like, I'm a stutterer. You know, that's how I've always been. I'm a stutterer, you know. And so, God, you can't use me because I'm a stutterer. But what he was doing is he was really going back to that one thing that people probably made fun of him for. You know, that people probably looked at him and was like, man, he sounds a little bit crazy. Like, he's stuttering constantly. It was an insecurity of his. And so his excuses were tied to his insecurities. Every time he told God, like, I can't do this. I'm too young. It was because of the way that he actually viewed himself, not necessarily of how God, you know, saw him. And so I love when you said that, because excuses really is something else that really gets in the way of us doing what we are supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Like, it's terrible.
We always have an excuse. We always have an excuse for something. You know, like I said, I can't do it. I'm not able. But let me tell you this, and if you don't get anything out of this podcast, get this: that nobody can ruin your life except you. Yes, people will come against you. Yes, things will happen. But in the end, and we talked about this in the last one. It's about response and reaction. How are you going to react? Yes. You're not responsible for everything that happens, but you are responsible. I always say that you have the ability to respond in a certain way. And so in reality, nobody can ruin your life. Well, that man ruined my life. No, you let him ruin your life. Because you could respond and say, what he did to me, yes, it hurt me, but I'm gonna allow it to make me better, not better. You know, hey, you know, I was raised in this environment, or whatever, with poverty. Okay, we can say you were raised there, but now you have a choice. I'm gonna be better, or am I gonna continue in the line of my family? But once again, nobody can ruin your life. Except for you. You know, and like I said, you can try to blame it on God, because that's what we do. We want to blame it on God. We want to blame it on our parents. We want to blame it on a person. But we are the architects of our own life. And once again, we are our greatest enemies. So we've got to step up. You know, don't allow that anger inside of you to destroy you. Don't allow that pride inside of you to destroy you. That jealousy that you have, deal with it. There's some things that are inside of us that we just have to deal with. You know, I mean, what do you think are some of the things that you know, because we're talking about me versus me. What are the things inside of you that you think hinder you from moving forward? Like what I said is, sometimes it's pride, and you know, and I can deny it all I want, but sometimes for me, it's my pride that is destroying me. You know, so what about you? What is it? Anger? Is it?
I think for me it's bitterness. You know, I feel like now I'm doing, like, I feel like I've been freed from that, but I feel like for most of my life it was bitterness. And I think it was because I reacted more than I responded. Right? And not only reacted, but I also gave people a high value and a high importance in my life. And so when they would offend me, or when they would do something to me, I would take it to heart, right? Because what we tend to do is we go into relationships, we go into friendships, we go, into covenant relationships, even with people, in the church, friends, family members, whatever whatever it could be. And we begin to respect that person's word, and we hold them in high standards. We hold them in high honor. So when they give us advice, when they, when they're there for us, when they do life with us, and then all of a sudden, they betray you, it's a pain that you're like, oh my God, like, and I believe it's because we've given so much importance to that person, and we've given so much importance and so much high value to that person that we, not the person, but let me rephrase it. We give high value, yes, to the person, but we give more high value to what they did to us.
Okay.
Right? And so I feel like because we have high value on the person and we give high value to what they did to us, we're giving that offense importance.
Yeah.
And by giving that offense importance, it's causing us to become bitter, because we're saying, okay, well, this person that was so special to me has hurt me in a way that I never thought they would hurt me.
Yeah.
Right? I thought this person was loyal. I thought this person, was going to have my back at all times. I thought this person was going to be there with me.
Yeah.
And so what they did to you, you took that more personal because you gave the situation that importance and that value, instead of just saying, you know what, they offended me, and yes, it's okay for you to be, to have a righteous anger. It's okay for you, to mourn. It's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to be angry at the moment, but not to the point where you sin, not to the point where it changes you. And it gets you out of the character of God. And I believe that that's what a lot of us do. Like, we are in covenant relationships with people, or even when we're not. Sometimes we're not even in covenant relationships with people, but we have a spirit of offense. We're easily offended. We're easily mad. We're easily angry. And everything that is done to us, we give it such high importance that it leads us to a place of bitterness. And so when we learn to say, you know what, I'm not even going to let that get to me. I remember there was one time you preached, right, babe? And you were saying, you gotta be anointed to the point where when somebody comes, or the enemy tries to come and grab you, or somebody tries to hurt you, that it slips off of you like butter. That every attack, that every demonic plan that the enemy has to grab you and to take away from you what God has given you, that it will slide off like butter. And that's what we need to do. We need to look at situations and say, okay, I value the person, but I'm not going to value the offense. I'm not going to value the situation. Like, I'm going to look at the situation as an opportunity for me to grow, not an opportunity for me to become bitter. Because every situation that is presented to you as an offense, as something, of course it has a potential to hurt you. Of course it has the potential, to take you to a bad place, but you're the one that decides where it's going to take you. Right? So you have a decision to make, and every offense, either I use it as an opportunity to grow, and then I create healthy boundaries so that I can guard my heart. Or on the other hand, I become bitter, I become angry, I don't talk to that person anymore, I shut them out, I isolate from them, and then your salvation is at stake. So it's like you have a choice in every offense to choose how it's going to affect you.
So you feel like the resentment has been the thing that you have to deal with so that you can move forward?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And like I said, so if we don't deal with those seeds that are inside of us, they're going to eventually grow. And so forth. So we've got to watch those things. Once again, inside of us, greed, lust, evil, and once again, these are the things that are not outside of us. These are the things that are within us. That if we don't conquer these things, is we're not going to be able to be who God has called us to be. we're not going to be happy in our relationships, in our marriages, with our family and ministry, because we have to deal with this. So, how did you deal with resentment? How is it that you're dealing with it? Or how, I mean, you may be still learning how to deal with it, but what is it? Because some people that are on it, they say, you know what, I want to be free. I know that the enemy is the inner me, and Pastora, I do have bitterness, or Pastor, I do have resentment, and I do have anger. So how do I deal with these things so that I can conquer them and truly function and do what God has called me to do?
I feel like a lot of people, they don't understand that there is so much power in prayer.
Yeah.
Not only fervent prayer, not only the prayers of the righteous, but a specific prayer.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like there's been times in my life where I would go into prayer and I would say, you know how we are. We go into it very basic, very thinking that God needs like these big words and this big, but one thing that I've come to understand that has helped me deal with, resentment and bitterness in the past has been for me to pray a specific prayer.
Yeah.
Based on what I'm facing at that moment, right? So, for example, let's say I get into a situation and I feel like the situation has made me resentful or has made me bitter, or I didn't learn the lesson from that situation.
Yeah.
My prayer is, God, like, if I have to repeat this, because oftentimes God will allow us to repeat certain things until we get the lesson out of it, right?
Yeah.
You were just saying that on Sunday. And so I feel like when you're in that place of resentment and bitterness, a specific prayer towards that situation, saying, God, listen, like, I feel like this is making me bitter.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being brutally honest with God.
Absolutely.
God, I'm mad. Like, I remember one time I said, God, I'm mad as hell. Like, I'm so mad that I want to retaliate. I want to take revenge. I'm angry. I'm upset. I want to put my hands on this person. And that's how I pray to God. Like, I'm very honest with God. I'm very open with God. Because I think these situations like this, I feel like a lot of times we feel like we can't really be honest with God. Well, I can't come to God telling him, that I'm angry and that I'm hateful and that I'm this or I'm that, because he's just going to reject my prayer. No, like, the enemy is a liar. The devil is a liar. You can come to God. You can bring him your specific
God
prayer.
is not petty. I would say God is not petty like people.
Yes, and just be specific. Like, God, help me see this situation for what it really is.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't cause resentment in me, but it will cause the joy of the Lord to spring forth in whatever I'm facing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's been a powerful, powerful tool, has been specific prayer towards that specific situation.
So if you don't kill that thing that you're dealing with, it will eventually kill you.
Yeah.
And so she's telling us, and I mean, that we kill it with prayer.
Yeah.
If you want to deal with that anger, that bitterness, all that stuff, I mean, that's one of the tools. I mean, we can go on and on and talk about the other thing, but one of the principal thing is, Lord, this is what I'm going through. Yeah. Lord, I'm an angry person. God, I'm resentful. I'm bitter. I have this lust issue. I think we have to be honest, like you said, because I mean, if we keep it hidden, if we kind of just justify it, well, I'm angry because this, or I'm bitter because this, and just like that, once again, it's an excuse, and we're going to continue doing it and never be free. We have to kill those things before they end up killing us. And that's where we have to be real. And we're going to be closing in just a minute, but what else would you feel like, hey, as I'm dealing with me, how do I destroy these things? How do I kill these things so that I can continue moving forward? You said prayer. What else would be another thing that you think we can do to deal with those inner bad habits or struggles that we have that are hindering us from really doing what God has called us to do?
I think is be real with ourselves.
Yeah.
I think so many times we live in denial. And we live in pride. And pride, this is something I always say, pride will stop you from seeing your true condition.
Yeah.
right? And sometimes what God is trying to do through situations that you're facing is He's trying to bring an interruption.
Yeah.
He's trying to bring an intervention.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, when God has to intervene, that means that He's interrupting something in your life.
Yeah.
It means that He is coming in to make you aware of something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that show Intervention. When you look, when you watch this show,
yeah.
it's about drug addicts. It's about people that live these lifestyles that's affecting other people. And what happens is their family members, they come in and they get together and they say, okay, we have to talk about what is affecting this person. And as soon as they do that, they tell this person, listen, you have this struggle, and if you don't fix it, you're gonna have to pay the consequences.
Yep.
And I think it's really being able to identify what are the things that are hindering us.
Yeah.
Looking at ourselves and saying, okay, I've been in denial, but I'm prideful.
Yeah.
I'm a liar. I'm a gossiper. I'm negative all the time. I'm this, I'm that. Like, we have to be real with ourselves as far as what we're doing wrong, so then we can be able to change it.
Yeah, this is good stuff, man. We may have to continue this another time.
Yes.
But once again, the greatest enemy is not outside, it's inside of you. You got to deal with the inner me.
Yes.
And kill whatever is trying to kill you. That pride, anger, lust, whatever it is. Once again, your greatest enemy is not Satan, it is you. So be encouraged.
Yes.
Amen. And we'll continue. I think next week I want to talk about one of the next things. What's killing so many people is their own mouth. What they're saying. And maybe we can talk about that next week. So thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. Have a good day.
Yes. Have a good one, guys.